Before we begin, just a quick shout out to Maui family. Hey Levi, this episode's got the answer to that question you had on Facebook, the Hawaii crypto conundrum.
What is cryptocurrency?
A digital form of money. None of this is as easy. The wallets, the exchanges, all of it takes a little bit of time and energy. So that night I had a dream that had both Bitcoin and dolphins in it. This blockchain technology is a form of right livelihood.
Welcome to Coloring Crypto, our journey to illuminate cryptocurrency. I'm your host, Gabe Colors. In the last episode, Josh told us that this is something the world has never seen before. He illustrates the sharp contrast between the banking system we're familiar with, the only banking system we've ever known, and how cryptocurrency is totally different. Today, we flip perspectives and hear from Ana Ariel. She bought her first crypto coin just 6 months ago, and guess what? It's the same, but different. This came in a dream. Ana drops some serious knowledge about wallets, exchanges, passcodes, seeds, altcoins. She hands out beautifully painted explanations of key terms that you should know if you want to understand this space. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on Twitter at Coloring Crypto. Oh, get this. We've got our first sponsor. Any endorsement that you think you hear during the podcast just came out of our conversations. Our first one true and forever awesome sponsor is Tiny Cables. I love Tiny Cables because they don't get tangled. Tiny Cables makes short charging cables perfect for your desk. 8 inches, $8. Free shipping and a lifetime guarantee. The perfect size for decluttering your desk. Thanks, Tiny Cables. Visit tinycables.com/color. All right, let's do it. Episode 2, Dreaming of Crypto in Color.
My name is Ana Ariel, and I grew up in Portland, Oregon, lived on the West Coast and Hawaii most of my life, and I've always been interested in cutting edge opportunities, and recently got involved in the crypto space, and it's been super exciting for me.
What is cryptocurrency?
A digital form of money. So a form of money that can be sent through your computer and in fact is created on a computer. It's an internet form of money. It's an open ledger system where things are recorded in multiple computers in plain sight, so to speak, so that there can't be disagreements over what occurred because so many people have recorded the knowledge. This year, around April, was when I started to get really involved.
As you were learning this, what did you find were some of the most useful tools or websites or forums or things to download?
I do have a little bit of a different path than I think your average person because I immediately invested in a research group. This was a cryptocurrency advice service. And the man that I am following is very knowledgeable. And so I initially got involved following some of his tips. And it turned out his timing was pretty accurate, or at least my timing and his timing combined was accurate because I got involved in Bitcoin in April, right when it was around $1,400. And right now it's trading close to $4,000. So
I'm really curious. You're the first person I've talked to whose initial kind of entry was with a research group. Tell us more about that.
So this guy is actually giving picks, like he's saying, this coin, let's just say this coin, there's one out right now. It's out of Thailand, I believe. And so he sent me, and I paid for his service. He sent me an email that said, I believe this coin's about to pop. And literally it did, like the next day.
Well, I think like one of the typical concerns is like, how do you vet this person? Like if I hear something like this, my first kind of like red flag is like, wait, are they self-interested or, trying to promote certain things they've got a connection to? And the second concern would be, well, if they're so good at this, why do they need my pizzly money? Can't they make billions and billions off of their great inside tip?
Well, I was a little bit familiar with them previously, and, they're a regular business. So, you always want to make sure that you believe in something or that something feels right to you and not just take anyone's advice, even if you're paying for it. You want to make sure that you believe in the source.
I want to go back even so before April. Like, what was the change? When did you first hear about this stuff? And, and then what shifted for you, like, to arrive in April and be like, okay, I'm going to get into this in a smart way and hire somebody through this and make some smart decisions?
I first heard about Bitcoin from a website called the Dollar Vigilante. And this was back in 2011. I believe Bitcoin was $3 back then.
Yeah,
I'm not
right?
quite sure. And then I had a dream. It's funny, anyone who knows me, I live in Hawaii and I'm big into the whales and the dolphins, and I swim out there in the ocean with those creatures. And so that night I had a dream that had both Bitcoin and dolphins in it. I believe it was 2 different dreams, but the dream was definitely guiding me towards Bitcoin, and the fact that I had the dream with the dolphins was...
That was back in 2011?
So this was 2011. It was...
Wow.
Okay, so yeah. Well, it could have been wow, but in fact, it turned out not to be wow, because this is my story. So I put the dream on Facebook. A girlfriend who I don't even know that well, she wrote in, "Do not buy Bitcoin. The Silk Road guy has just gotten arrested. Bitcoin's going down. Don't waste your money." And I wrote back on the thread, "Oh, I'm just going to put a little bit into it." And she said, I wouldn't do that. That's a really bad idea. And I listened to her. So my story with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I let someone talk me out of my own dream. And then I promptly forgot about it all really until April. So that's like 6 years, right?
If you had said that in April when you signed up with this research guy and he said, buy Ethereum now, I'd be like, oh man, this is the guy. Because if you gotten into Ethereum in April, I think that was wasn't that right before Ethereum just did like a $1 to $300 leap?
Right.
But what altcoins?
Well, I did get into Ethereum, but I don't. Once again, I just want to reiterate that this is not a space to use money that you need to pay your rent or use. So far I've been successful moderately, but my goal in it is to not lose money.
I had another podcast where my cousin David discussed hey, he said you should invest what it takes you to earn in an hour. If you make $5 an hour, right. That's what you should start with. Right. Massive caveats on all that stuff. But before we go into the general philosophical impacts, do you just depend on the person that you subscribe to, that you're paying for kind of research? Are you actively looking for coins? Do you have a kind of a smell test? Or what's your portfolio look like with altcoins?
Okay, I'm going to count right now.
Oh, and what do you use? What tools are you using?
They say the crypto world's like the Wild West. So what they mean by that is that even if there's a best practices exchange and the best way to buy Bitcoin right this second, for instance, those things could change very rapidly.
Some examples of the most common exchanges.
So Bittrex is my favorite one right now. And I also have some coins on Poloniex. That said, the only way to truly hold crypto is in a private wallet where you hold your own private keys. So anybody who's holding anything on an exchange, so an exchange is something where you would put your US dollars and buy some Bitcoin, and then you'd use that Bitcoin maybe and buy another coin, like some Ethereum or some other coin. And if you keep it after you make that purchase, if you keep it on the exchange, in this case Bittrex, you are vulnerable to that money getting hacked, stolen, to that company going out of business. It's central. So the whole point of blockchain technology is decentralization, yet these exchanges are somewhat centralized. So what do? You take your money off of Bittrex and you put these coins into wallets. And this is where things are complex.
Let's unpack this for my 5-year-old listening audience, where you just said, I asked you about exchanges before explaining what they were. Let's say somebody's brand new, they're just listening to it for the first time, and let's say they bought a Bitcoin yesterday, or they bought a 0.01 bit of a Bitcoin yesterday, and now they're like, oh, altcoins, I want to just kind of begin learning about this. So can you help us understand, what would a person do?
Let's just say you have $100, and the first thing I would do is I would get signed up with Coinbase. I want to say that in the United States of America, we have the most difficulty buying crypto, I think, of almost any country in the world, maybe right this second, not China, but even previously, I think we were more difficult than China. So it's interesting because we have a lot of capital controls in the United States. So that said, I found Coinbase to be one of the main ones. It's not that easy to buy Bitcoin. For me, what I did was I connected my bank account to Coinbase, and they want to see your ID and all these normal things.
And I'm so sorry, I've got a tangent you here because maybe a mutual friend or one of our Hawaii community posted recently on Facebook, and he said, "How do Hawaii residents get Bitcoin?" Because Hawaii has some law where Coinbase won't let Hawaii-based banks access that. You're in Hawaii. Do you know about that?
Well, I live in two states, so to speak. So
Okay.
I
You have a roundabout.
So one of the things I want to say to your listeners is that one of the reasons there is possibly some money to be made in this space is because it is difficult. I just want to say, I back in April wanted to buy way more than I could, and the price literally doubled and then went up even more before I could buy the Bitcoin that I wanted to.
And that limitation, was a Coinbase limitation or a state or federal government limitation?
Because you have to get, I don't know if this is the right word, but certified. Like if you went onto Coinbase today, it wouldn't happen immediately. Perhaps with a credit card. Like I've never tried to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase with a credit card. But if you're trying to link your bank up, definitely no matter what, one of the main things that I love to shout out to the world and to your listeners would be to get set up with Coinbase right now. If you are in Hawaii, I do have another tip. But like in general, get set up with Coinbase as soon as possible, even if you're not ready to buy. None of this is as easy. The wallets, the exchanges, all of it takes a little bit of time and energy. The difficulty of it is what is giving us the early mover advantage. It seems now more than ever, like on my Facebook feed, that more and more people are aware of it, but it's still in the very, very, very infancy stages. And it is partly because it's difficult.
But then can you pick back up where you were discussing, like you were saying you were on Bittrex?
Well, I will actually help Levi, I will help him out right now, because actually something very cool, which almost nobody I know has ever even heard of, is an app. It's an app for your phone called Abra, A-B-R-A. And I totally recommend everyone download this amazing app right away. And the app has very set limits. I think it's $1,000 a month total. So you're certainly not going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin using this app. But if you just want to get your feet wet, this app Abra is something, it's actually a wallet and a way to purchase from fiat, from US dollars. Once again, you have to get signed up with them and link your bank account, et cetera, with them. But then once you do, they have all these currencies from all over the world, including Bitcoin. So let's just say you put $100 into it, and then on this app, right on your phone, you could change that currency into Bitcoin in 1 second, or into euros in 1 second, or yen in 1 second, all the things that they have on there. And so for Hawaii people, they could totally use that one and at least get started.
So Levi can have a Hawaii bank account, and he can sign up with Abra without that restricting him from getting Bitcoin, but with a
Yes.
limited cap. Okay, awesome.
So let me just continue on with that, because Abra is an example of a wallet. So another app I wanted to mention is called Jaxx, J-A-X-X. And both Jaxx and Abra are examples of wallets where you hold your own private keys. What is a private key? Now, I'm not an expert on this either, and I could get it wrong, kind of what I'm about to say, but this is my understanding, which is a private key is like a 12, or is usually or often a 12-seed phrase. So it's a phrase that you get, and you hold on to that phrase, and no one but you has that phrase, or whoever you want to give it to, like your husband or wife, for instance. And that is what enables you to get into and out of your wallet.
I think this is one of the biggest barriers to entry, is that when you download the wallet, you've got to choose this sort of password.
It's a seed.
We're so used to just having, oh, I lost my password. Click, I lost my password. Put in your email. And then the centralized bank or, record store or whatever sends you your password. What you're talking about with the wallet, there is no central database. There's nobody that has that passcode except for you and this encrypted sort of wallet. That freaks people out, even though it's the most secure thing that there possibly is. If it's a wallet, I have that password. I'm the only one. If I get Alzheimer's and I forget it, my bad. If I write it down and it burns in a fire, it's gone, right? So like that, I think, is a fascinating piece. It's like paper. That's why it's paper money. Digital currency becomes equivalent to paper money.
I wish I had this memorized too, the statistics on how much Bitcoin has been mined that people own that they will never ever get. It's been lost forever to the world because people have lost their seed codes, or they've they can't get into wherever they have their Bitcoin stored. So there's, I don't know if it's millions of dollars or even, the equivalent in fiat. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is not, in my mind, there's this element of Bitcoin that is Bitcoin. You can't compare it to, it's not about how much it's worth in dollars. Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. But anyway, just to compare it to money, though, I think millions or even billions of dollars are lost just sitting there, and no one will ever be able to get it because the people have lost their passwords. But that said, I think in some ways it's even safer than your dollars, because what you do is you take the seed phrase and you put it in a safe, or you memorize it. You could put it into your brain, or bearing the Alzheimer's scenario, you'd have it in your head. That doesn't scare me so much, as what worries me is just how difficult each individual coin, because there is no universal wallet. So on top of the fact that it's decentralized and you are your own boss, we're used to putting our trust in these, like, say, Wells Fargo, for instance, and trusting that they're going to treat us correctly. But as we know, this is real life here, like in Cyprus, the islands off of Greece or whatever, they actually have taken people's money out of bank accounts. Regular banks just kept people's money. So that's an example of a centralized thing where people think they own their own money, but it's in a bank, and they found out that actually the bank owned their money.
I hear you got some passion and some inside interest. What are the potentials of this technology?
There could be, with the debt ceiling and all these things that we have going on in the governments and the world politics, that perhaps there are safer ways to hedge your bets as far as, I guess you'd say, even an economic collapse. Personally believe the US dollar, which is a currency that's not backed by anything except, the support of the government at this point, actually does the most damage in the world, not just the US necessarily, but this money system where people can just print more and more money, and the money is not tied to anything of real value, is damaging. But that said, gold is something that you have to mine the earth for. So gold is a real quote unquote problem as well. It does cost electricity. It is using vast amounts of electricity, and there actually, believe it or not, are some coins out there that are trying to help with this problem. I believe in that it can help our world become a better place, and I believe that it can help us usurp power from the central banks, and I just have a lot of optimism around this.
I love your clarity of explanation, your passion, your interest in sort of alternative ways of viewing things and finding the advantages. Thank you so much for being on the Coloring Crypto podcast.
I'm really honored to have been invited and really enjoyed my time with you.
And don't forget, folks, never listen to your friends, listen to your dreams.
Yes.
Thanks, Anna.
Coloring Crypto.